Hello, welcome to OS 52 Human Relations in Organizations. This is the foundation of our undergraduate leadership program, Fort Wayne, of course. If you are watching this video because you are enrolled in my OLS 252 class, I'm glad you are here. But even if you are watching this video because you are curious about the field of organizational behavior, I think you will find a lot of value here. So no matter what your purpose is for watching this video, interesting insights about the field, something that you may not necessarily find in a textbook. So welcome, and I hope you find a lot of value here. My name, by the way, is Dr. Paresh Mishra, and I'm a professor of organizational leadership at Purdue University, Fort Wayne. So, to understand the field of organizational behavior, or OB as we call it, let's just start with a definition, the definition that is provided in the textbook. The textbook says that organizational behavior is an interdisciplinary field dedicated to understanding and managing people at work. So let's focus on different aspects of this definition. First thing that we can point out is that it is an interdisciplinary field. What does that mean? It means that organizational behavior draws ideas from several other fields, from psychology, from sociology, from anthropology, economics, even biology, neuroscience. So it draws ideas from several other fields with a specific purpose: to understand and manage people at work. So it is not just enough to understand why people behave the way they behave, but the intention of understanding people's behavior is to manage them better. Now, this may give the impression that we are only talking about managing other people's behavior. That need not be the case. It could be even managing our own behavior, so that we can be more productive, so that we can be more satisfied at work, more successful in our careers. So it expands to those dimensions as well. To expand on what I am trying to say, we can think about workplace from the perspective of what it is that we want, right? The definition is very goal oriented, right? When it says that this field is dedicated to understanding and managing people at work, it is goal directed. The very purpose of understanding people's behavior is to manage them better, which means there are certain outcomes that we want. Now, let me write that here. So, outcomes. What are those outcomes? At the individual level, it could mean better performance, right? Higher performance. I want to perform at a higher level than I am currently. Or it could mean higher job satisfaction. I want to be more satisfied in my job. Or it could mean lower stress. I want to be less stressed. I want to be happier. So these are some of the individual level outcomes that I may want from my job. So organizational behavior as a field then is focused on maximizing these valued outcomes and minimizing any kind of negative outcomes, or minimizing job dissatisfaction, minimizing poor performance, minimizing mediocrity, and so on and so forth. But it is not just individual level outcomes that we are talking about. We are also talking about group level outcomes. By group level outcomes, it could mean team's effectiveness, or how well do team members collaborate? Do they manage conflict really well in the team? It could mean those kind of factors too. So there are group level outcomes too. Similarly, we could talk about organizational level outcomes. And what could be organizational level outcomes? It could be profit. The business organization may want more profit. They may want more sales. They may want a higher increase in market share. They may want more share value, whatever those specific objective outcomes may be. There are things that the field is focusing on. So those are the outcomes. But how do we achieve those outcomes? We achieve those outcomes by bringing in some inputs. So what are those inputs? Similarly, the way we talked about outcomes, individuals, groups, and organizational outcomes. Similarly, we can talk about inputs also in similar kind of fashion. There are inputs that each individual brings in to the job, right? We can call them individual factors or personal factors. What are some of those individual or personal factors? So you bring in your knowledge, your skills, your attitudes, KSA for instance, but more than that, your personality, your values, even your abilities, your emotions, so your past experience. So you bring in a lot of these things to the workplace, and they influence the outcomes. But again, not just these individual level factors influence the outcomes. There are organizational level factors too, right? So what could be some of those organizational level factors? What about the organization's work culture? What industry is the organization functioning in? For instance, the things that may work really well in the automobile industry may not work as well in an investment bank, or may not work as well in a software company. The kind of practices, motivational practices or leadership approaches. So organizational factors can influence the outcomes that we were talking about before. What kind of, let's say, reward systems the company has, and so on and so forth. You get the idea. And there could be a whole host of other situational factors too. Situational factors. That when I'm talking about situational factors, I'm talking about not person or organizational factors, but other ancillary factors, like the leader's style of functioning, or the leader's personality, or the deadline or the pressure under which you are working. So for a particular project, there may be high pressure. For another project, there may be less pressure. The team dynamics in one project, the team dynamics may be highly conducive to performance, not so much in another team. So a lot of situational factors can also influence the outcomes that we are talking about. Now, when we are talking about these various inputs influencing outcomes, there's a process through which the entire influence process happens, right? In other words, there's a mechanism. For example, you may come to the job with certain abilities, right? With certain abilities or certain skills, a certain personality, which can influence your motivation, which can influence how quickly you learn things at the workplace, or which can influence how quickly you recover from failure, recovery from failure or mistakes. So I'm just giving some examples. Or they can probably influence the way you perceive or the way you view work, okay? Your perception of work. They can influence your perception about leadership, about time, about decision making, and all these mechanisms, these psychological mechanisms, they then influence the outcomes that we either desire or want to avoid if they are undesirable outcomes. So when we are talking about the field of organizational behavior, we are talking about all these factors, how they interplay with each other. But the basic purpose behind trying to understand everything is that we have greater control, a greater mastery over the process, and we can maximize the positive outcomes and minimize the negative outcomes. And when we are talking about the field of organizational behavior, one thing that you will notice, especially in this class, is that you will get exposed to numerous theories. Now, many people have certain negative views about theories. Some people believe that, well, theories are not practical, right? If something is said to be theoretical, it has the connotation that it is not practical. But no, that's actually not true. That is far from the truth, or I would say it is exactly the opposite. A good theory is one that is very practical. A good theory is not removed from real life, rather it is something that gives you a better understanding of real life so that you can navigate through life better. Okay, so despite some of you having this impression, having this impression that theories are boring and they don't necessarily contribute much from a practical perspective, the reality is that theories are actually extremely important in any field, but definitely so in the field of organizational behavior as well. Now, to give you a little bit more insight about the importance of theories, let me take you to a quote from Ayn Rand. Ayn Rand, if you know, was a philosopher, an American philosopher of Russian origin, who wrote several, popular books, some of which were also made into movies. A highly impactful philosopher. In any case, this quote is from her book Philosophy Who Needs It. In this quote, she writes, abstract ideas are conceptual integrations which subsume an incalculable number of concretes. And without abstract ideas, you would not be able to deal with concrete, particular real life problems. You would be in the position of a newborn infant to whom every object is a unique, unprecedented phenomenon. The difference between his mental state and yours lies in the number of conceptual integrations your mind has performed. You have no choice about the necessity to integrate your observations, your experiences, your knowledge into abstract principles. So, this may seem a little wordy to some people, but the points that are being stressed upon here are extremely important. So, what is Ayn Rand saying here? She is saying that what we often discard as abstract ideas or abstract principles are actually extremely important, right? Why? Because they provide what she calls a more concrete integration of these seemingly random real life problems, right? When you are at the workplace, you come across multiple problems. They may all seem random. You may then get overwhelmed by it. But if you go to the workplace with some mental models that are actually good abstractions of how the workplace functions, then you are likely to be more successful, right? So Ayn Rand is contrasting this with a newborn's or an infant's mental frame who does not have any of these mental models. That's the reason everything seems disconnected and maybe even overwhelming. But when you have some mental models, and there are great mental models that have been proposed by wise people and they have been tested and they have been verified, so it makes sense to approach the problems at the workplace or in life by making use of those mental models so that you can navigate through them better. So that's essentially what is being said here. Now, to explain this a little bit better, I probably should give you some examples. But let me give you some examples that you may be able to easily relate to. Let's say you want to lose some weight. You want to go on a diet. Okay, you want to eat healthy. So you ask few of your friends how to go about doing this, or you may watch some YouTube videos or read some newspaper articles about it. One source may say that, hey, carbs are bad for you. You should avoid carbs. That's going to help you. The next day, somebody else may say, these fats, that's what is bad. These trans fats, they can kill you. You should avoid that. Everything else is fine. Somebody else may come and say, well, these animal products, they are very bad. They are carcinogenic. You should go vegetarian. Somebody else may say, no, actually, animal products are the best things. They are highly nutritious. They're densely packed with nutrients. So you should eat animal products. Somebody else may say you eat fish. Somebody else may say you should not eat fish. Some may say you eat eggs, somebody else may say do not eat eggs, or do not eat the yolk, somebody else may say you should eat the yolk. Somebody may say eat regularly every 2 hours, and that's going to keep your metabolism high. Whereas somebody else may say, no, you should not be eating so frequently. You should fast. You should eat maybe one meal a day, or maybe do intermittent fasting regularly. You get the idea. Somebody is saying go vegan, somebody is saying go keto, somebody is going go paleo. Now, how do you make sense of this completely diverse group of suggestions? You will go crazy, you will get confused, and you will then not be able to reach the goal of eating healthy and attaining a healthy body weight as easily, right? So instead of focusing on these discrete kind of suggestions, if you had some understanding about how our biology functions, what the macronutrients are, what micronutrients are, how does our hormonal system, the different hormones that we have, influence our digestion, how they influence whether or not we are extracting the nutrients that we want to from what we are eating. Now, if you have a proper understanding of these mechanisms, then you will be in a better position to decide what to eat, what to avoid, when to eat, when not to eat, right? So having that deeper understanding about the process will actually help you be effective, will help you be even efficient in attaining the goal in a much shorter span of time. So that's what we are talking about when we are talking about these theories. They are not just some opinions about somebody. These are abstractions from these seemingly discrete problems or discrete events that you are seeing. And you can see the same thing getting manifested in almost all areas of life, not just eating. You may think that that's an extreme example. You go to the gym. You could be jumping from one machine to the other in the gym, going through random machines. You watch some YouTube video, get excited and do some exercise, and then go to some other exercise. So you don't have a system in place which will ultimately lead you to either getting injured or getting too sore, or ultimately quitting too soon, right? But if you know why you are doing what you are doing, if you know things, if you understand the principle of, let's say, progressive overload, if you understand the importance of rest and recovery, if you understand the importance of structured routines where different parts of the body are given some stress and different parts of the body are given rest, and how that process is alternated over weeks. So when you approach this with a stronger mental model, a proper framework, then you will be more effective in the gym, right? So now these examples may sound a little simple, But the same principle applies in the workplace, right? So when you go to the workplace, with a proper understanding of how it works, how people work, what people are generally motivated by, how to get them excited, which form of communication works, which form of communication is likely to create conflict, or so you will be much more effective in the workplace. So that's what I'm talking about when I'm talking about the importance of theories. So do not discard theories as something they not being important. Okay, but to be fair to students, I think especially the first year students who are getting introduced to the field of organizational behavior for the first time, it is understandable that they get overwhelmed by these too many theories. And I think, to be fair, it is not even the students' fault. The textbooks, they tend to pack they tend to be packed with lots of theories. The authors, probably in their effort of trying to be as comprehensive as possible, they include maybe 15 different theories of motivation, 20 different theories of leadership, 8 different theories of personality. You get the idea, right? So many things they try to pack in one textbook. The natural outcome of this is that then students get overwhelmed. And well, one more thing. The textbook also talks about it in chapter 1. In the field of organizational behavior, you will hear this very frequently, that it's a lot about contingencies. So there are no universally effective ways of leading. What is effective depends on the situation. In other words, an extremely effective way of leading may not be effective in another situation, may not work with some other group of people. So there are too many contingencies, right? That can also be overwhelming because you are trying to remember so many contingencies. There is no universal approach about how to lead. That can be a little bit frustrating for somebody who is coming to the field of organizational behavior for the first time. Although there is immense value in understanding these contingencies well, because then you can tweak or modify your approach to the requirements of the situation. But that's deeper knowledge. That's not something that you can understand and master in the initial stages of learning. And that is something that needs to be realized. That's the reason I am saying that the field of organizational behavior is a little complicated. It is complicated not in the sense of it involving some complicated mathematics, although those who study the field, the scientists who study the field in systematic fashion, those who do research in the field, they use advanced statistical techniques to study the different phenomena in the field. But just to understand the different theories, you don't necessarily need reliance on abstract calculus or some advanced mathematical tools. So when I'm saying the field is complex, I am essentially saying that human behavior is messy. It is, real life is messy, right? It is not like the field of physics, or I'm not even talking about quantum physics. I'm talking about physics like, the area of gravity, the area of optics, where things are, pretty straightforward, or or it is not as straightforward like accounting, where you balance the profit and loss statement. It's pretty simple, straightforward. 2 plus 2 always equals to 4. But when it comes to people, 2 plus 2 may not equal to 4. Of course, not literally. What I mean is, let's say we have a person who creates 10 widgets per day during the 8-hour shift. Okay. There is another person who is equally competent, and he also creates 10 widgets per day. So each of them create 10 widgets per day. Now, what will happen if we combine them, make them into a team? How many widgets will they create? Will they create 20 widgets per day? 10 plus 10 equals 20. Or will they create more? Maybe they will create 25 or maybe 30 widgets per day if they have proper synergy, right? So maybe together, instead of working independently, when they are working together, if they manage to arrange their workflow in a manner that leads to greater synergy, they may end up creating 30 widgets per day. Prior to 10 plus 10 being 20, now they are creating 30 widgets. Again, the same two people. But something may happen in the opposite direction as well, right? Earlier they were being able to create 20 widgets, but when they start working together, if they do not have a great workflow together, if they are not being able to function as a team, or maybe even if they are being able to function as a team, but they may be wasting a lot of time, let's say talking or whatever, other distractive forces, due to which now they may be only making 15 widgets per day. So instead of 10 plus 10 being 20, now we are having only 15, right? So you understand, human beings are complex, and organizational behavior as a field should be seen as such. Especially I have seen people coming from the field of engineering sometimes get frustrated by these nuances, by these complexities in the field. But if you do not give up, if you continue to work in the direction of understanding what the field is about, the nuances in the field, you will then reap benefits that is going to be much higher than what your friends or colleagues attain. Another point actually that I forgot to mention, which also I have seen amongst students, is the other extreme of getting overwhelmed with the complexities, and that is that they think, oh, this is just common sense. I laugh when I see such attitudes expressed by students, because what we study in this field, the insights that we have gained, is far from being just common sense. It is not at all common sense. It is not as obvious as you may think. Now, it may feel obvious after you have learned the fact, But beforehand, once you understand how things work or why things don't work in a particular way, after the fact it may seem obvious, but a priori, no, it is not as obvious. It is not common sense. uh, well, right now it's not the time to delve deeper into those topics, but let me give you just maybe one or two examples. Somebody may say, or common sense would tell you that if you want people to perform better, um, just pay them more, right? That seems like a great suggestion. I'm getting more pay, so I should be more motivated to work, and that should lead me to higher performance. Yes, no, not necessarily. It may work only in certain situations with certain types of jobs. For some other types of jobs, like jobs that are complex, that involve high amount of creativity, in fact, it can, meaning these bigger rewards, can actually reduce your performance. It can create higher stress. It can create pressure, which can prevent you from thinking creatively. So things are not just as obvious as common sense would dictate. Well, let me give another example. Let's say you saw a kid, doing really well in mathematics. You are so happy to see let's say this kid is your baby sister, or your daughter or son, whatever, right? So how would you appreciate this kid so that the kid stays interested in the field of mathematics and puts in more effort in the field of mathematics? You would praise the kid, right? Yeah, I think that's good. So if I say, oh, you are so smart, you are doing these complex maths problems really well, so proud of you, is this a good praise? How many of you would say this is a good praise? Well, it turns out it is not a wise way of praising your kid. Instead, the wise way of praising would have been, oh, you are putting in so much effort. I'm so proud of you working so hard. That would have actually been a better way of praising if we want the kid to stay interested, to stay engaged in the field of mathematics. What we have actually seen is that when you praise people's talent, they give up more easily. Now, how and why this happens, it's a little bit more complex. This is not the time and place to delve deeper into those topics. But if you are interested, you could read up Carol Dweck's book, Mindset. That will give you some great insights on the topic. But hopefully you understand organizational behavior is beyond common sense. In fact, if it was, if things were common sense, you would not see the kind of dysfunctional managers, leaders that we see, the kind of dysfunctional team members that we see. Even when we take a mirror and do self-reflection, we are not always as effective as we would like to be. So naturally, we aren't always doing things correctly. We may believe that we are doing things correctly based on our common sense, but of course we aren't. That's the reason we aren't as effective. Okay, so I think I have spoken. So because of these constraints, I will approach teaching you this subject in a particular way. I would like to start with a story, a parable essentially, in the Hindu tradition. In this story, what you see is a group of blind men encountering an elephant for the very first time. So one blind man goes and touches the leg of the elephant, and oh, elephant is like a pillar. Another one goes and touches the tail. No, no, elephant is not like a pillar, elephant is like a rope. The third one may go and touch the ears. Oh, what are you talking about? Elephant is like a fan, and so on and so forth. One person goes, touches the trunk of the elephant. No, it's like a python, it's like a snake. Another goes and touches the torso of the elephant. No, it's like a wall, and so on, right? Each one of them is sincere, and not just sincere in what they are proclaiming. They are very confident, but they are only partly right, because they are experiencing reality only one piece at a time. They are not being able to experience the whole elephant, right? That's where again the importance of theories come. So the theories that I will be teaching in this class is to, or that I will be emphasizing in this class, will be to help you make sense of the workplace, of the people you interact with. So they will be, you could say that, toolkits for sense making, so that you can see this metaphorical whole elephant and not be overwhelmed by the problems, the different parts that you see. Okay. And the second thing that I want to emphasize is that I will be keeping things very simple, and that's by deliberate choice. I will not go too deep into many theories, and I will not go too deep into the various contingencies of the theories either. Again, because this is a foundation class of organizational behavior. So my goal, if you have heard of the 80-20 principle, is to only teach you that 20% that will give you 80% results, right? So what is that core 20%? If you understand it well, you can still function at 80% level. Well, yeah, if you want to function at 85%, at 90%, at 95%, or 98%, then you would need to learn more. That 20% knowledge, simplified knowledge that I am going to give you, is not going to be enough. You would need to learn the contingencies, the nuances, those deeper aspects. But that will involve a lot more time. That will take up 80% of your time. That just 20% won't be enough, right? So here I am trying to teach you something that is going to be helpful enough for you to be effective in the workplace. But hopefully that will increase your confidence, and then you will be more interested in diving deeper into the field. So simplicity, understand, it is not oversimplification. I don't believe in oversimplifying things, but I do believe in sharing complex ideas in a way that even somebody who is not an expert in the field can understand. That's the philosophy that I take when I am teaching something. So again, by simplicity, I do not mean that we will be ignoring evidence or not going into theories. No, we will be going through the theories, but we will be avoiding the jargons. So it's not some pop psychology opinion focused lecture, rather everything being grounded in theory and evidence, but explained in a way that you understand the basics of it, understand how things work, so that you can then internalize it and apply it to your lives. So this is actually what goal I have for you. I want you to succeed not just in this class in form of getting high grades. I want you to succeed in your career. I want you to succeed in your life. And I promise you, if you do internalize the things that you learn in this class, you will be more successful in your career, in your life, by incorporating those evidence-based practices into the different dimensions of your life. But remember, knowing is not the same as doing. You have to still practice to be able to develop the capability of being able to use these ideas. Because organizational behavior, although I have been emphasizing the evidence-based part a lot, which means it's a science, but it is also an art. So I can teach the same technique, the same insight to two people, but one of you may be much more effective in applying it than another person. And that's because there is an art component involved in the field of organizational behavior. Just learning a leadership technique is not going to be enough. Your whole self as a person, as an artist, comes into play to make something work. So again, the point of internalizing these concepts will be very important. So last couple of things that I want to emphasize. You have seen in this chapter in your book this graph that talks about two different kinds of skills. It talks about technical skills and personal skills. So technical skills matter more in the initial part of your career, right? And the let me do it here. Yeah, so the technical skills, they matter more in the initial stages of your career, frontline career, but the personal skills or the human skills, they matter more as you progress in your career. So that's what is being argued here, and I have no disagreement with respect to that. Because yes, technical skills do matter in the initial stages of your career. Let's say you are an engineer, or a lawyer, or a physician, whatever your technical discipline is. If you do not have those domain specific skills, you won't even get a job in your area, or even if you get a job, you will perform poorly, and consequently you will not be promoted, or you will not be rewarded in your on your job. So technical skills do matter a lot in the initial stages of your career, right? But that's only half truth. The thing that I disagree with is this graph that shows that gives the impression that personal skills or human skills do not or have low importance in the initial stages of your career. That's not true. If I were to draw this graph, actually I would draw it somewhere like this. Okay, so yes, the importance of personal skills matter a lot more when you as you rise up the hierarchy, right? Because then you are just managing people. either within the organization or outside the organization. Um, but even in the initial stages of your career, these human skills, these personal skills can give you a tremendous edge over others who only have those technical skills. So that's the point that I want to emphasize. How well do you interact with your boss? Are you being able to maintain a relationship that your boss values, that your team members value? Or even before getting the job, how do you present yourself in the interview? What kind of perspective do you take so that you are perceived as a potentially valuable uh, member, right? Those things are all these personal skills. And so do not downplay the importance of these skills by calling them only soft skills, as in contrast to hard skills. So that's the point that I want to emphasize. The last thing that I will briefly talk about, because I mentioned that I want you all to be successful in your career. So I would like to bring this theory called the resource-based view. This was a theory that was proposed by Jay Barney in the early 1990s, and it is a uh, highly impactful theory. But this theory is focused on organizations, not on people, typically. So this theory tries to answer the question, why do some companies succeed over time, whereas other companies do not, or other companies struggle? So what Jay Barney argued is that organizations that succeed, they tend to develop the resources and capabilities that are valuable, rare, inimitable, and non-substitutable, or which is in short called the VRIN framework. Now, these terms, valuable, rare, inimitable, non-substitutable, what does it mean in context of individuals? Why am I talking about it here? So, understand. So, what is it that you are bringing to the table as an individual, as an employee? What skills do you have? What knowledge do you have? What abilities do you have that others find valuable? Are you being able to solve some organization's problems? Are you being able to solve some of the challenges or problems that your boss is having? Then you are providing some value, right? Otherwise, you just have a degree that doesn't count much. So you have to bring value to the table. When you do that, that's when you will be standing out from others. But just bringing in value again is not enough, right? To stand out really well from others, you need to be a little bit rare, right? So yes, you bring in some technical competence, or even some soft skill kind of competencies. But is it rare, or is it that everyone has those skills, those competencies, those abilities? Let me give a concrete example. Let's say you can create a program, a particular program, in 8 hours. Okay, great. But if your teammates can also do that in 8 hours, or maybe not 8 hours, maybe 9 hours, or even 10 hours, or maybe 2 days, okay, but they can still create the program, right? Um, they may take a little longer, but your skills are not necessarily so rare now, unless that particular process of program creation is something that needs to be done urgently, right? So if many people have those competencies, then you will not be as valued. So you need to develop some skills, some competencies that is relatively rare, that others, your colleagues, and the people with whom you are competing do not have, that makes you stand apart from the crowd. And this is where what I was talking about before, not to ignore those people's skills, not to ignore those soft skills, comes into play. Only having those technical skills will make you very similar to what everyone else in your field has. But when you have these soft skills, it will help you stand apart from others. A related point is the point of inimitable, which essentially means anything that cannot easily be imitated, that cannot easily be copied. So people can copy your resume, they can copy your certification, in the sense that you have this what XYZ certification, this Microsoft certification, this Salesforce certification, or whatever certification. But there are hundreds, thousands, millions of people who have those same certifications. You have this degree, but there are hundreds of others who have the same degree. It is being copied, right? So how do you stand apart? Something that cannot be copied is your character, your personality trait, the unique personality traits that you have, the combination of personality traits that you have, your experiences, your values, those things are not as easily copied. So those things will give you that edge over others, and these things take a long time to build, through conscious choices, through habits, through discipline. So these are the kind of things that we talk about in this field of organizational behavior. The last point, non-substitutable, right? What is not substitutable? Anything that cannot easily be replaced. So are you a person who can be easily replaced? This is a really important question that needs to be asked, especially in the context of artificial intelligence. Today, we have AI already replacing lots of jobs, especially jobs in the technical domain that we thought literally guaranteed employment. But that's not the case, because it is something that can easily be recreated, easily be copied. They are substitutable. They can easily be replaced. But the human dimension, that is not as easily copied. Your character, the unique personality strengths that help you, let's say, motivate team members, those things are not as easily copied. So that hopefully gives you some insights about the importance of organizational behavior. It can potentially be your insurance for not losing your job in the competitive world that we live in. So hopefully this gives you some enough insights about the field of organizational behavior, about why it is so important. So if you continue to stay interested in the topic, I will be seeing you in remaining lectures. Thank you.